Bird on, Bears fans. Question on the table today. How far are the Chicago Bears realistically from getting back to being a playoff contending team? Let's talk about it starting now. Now, if you are new to the channel, please like the video. Please subscribe to the page. We do talk Chicago sports daily on this channel. It's the only channel talking Bears, how Bears fans talk. So make sure that you get in tune with us, man, and make sure that you let us know in the comments below how far away you think this Bears team is from getting back to the playoffs and being a legit team in the playoffs, right? And I think those are two separate questions, right? Because one, right, like Super Bowl contender, we're nowhere near that, right? Like that's a pipe dream, maybe 2-3 years down the line, maybe, right? Like, and even that, you still have to go through the ups and downs. But just getting back to the playoffs, how far away is this Bears team realistically? And to start things off, right, just getting back in, I don't think we're that far. I actually, unfortunately, have to look at a team to the north of us, right, the Detroit Lions. And say they're actually a really good starting point to look at on when you see something start to come together, how you can build on that next year. And the reason being for that, right, like there's a couple of things that happened last season with the Lions that are very similar to what happened with the Bears this season, right? Very close games, fighting, coming down to the wire, couldn't get the job done. Jared Goff losing in a couple of those situations, right? Like we've seen a lot of those similar things here where it's just boneheaded plays that didn't get the job done. But in the next year, right, they add a little bit more. Now they're contending for a playoff spot. Now they're trying to fight their way in to the playoffs. And that's kind of what I'm speaking on here, right? Not to say when are the Bears going to get back to the Super Bowl and things like that, but when are we going to be a threat in the playoffs again? And for me, right, I think the Bears are in a very similar situation. I'll tell you why. When you look at this team right now, and even, right, some of the other teams around the league that are similar to what we've gone through, do we have a game-changing player? I believe we do. I think Justin Fields is a game-changing player. I think he's a guy that can flip the script on a defense at any point, right? Like, and for me, a game-changing player is that player that you look at every week on the tape and you say, okay, this is what we have to do to scheme against this guy. If we do this against this guy, 8 times out of 10, we can almost be successful. And that's the best that we can hope for. And even if you run that scheme perfectly, even if you play that scheme to a T, sometimes it still doesn't work. And we've seen that a ton with Justin Fields here in his rookie year, right? Even in that in his second year, even on that last big run versus the Philadelphia Eagles, right? You saw Justin Fields literally get wrapped up. Sack is basically imminent, right? He ducks down, does a little spin out, gets away by the magic that he has in his fingertips. All of a sudden, he's breaking for a play that almost gets him to the end zone, ends up getting him to the 9. You're able to score the very next play. Now, the thing with players like that is, right, usually in the game of football, they can't win by themselves, and it seems like more times than not, that's what Justin Fields is trying to do. But do we have that game-changing player? I think we can check that off. I think that's the first thing you need to be a consistent playoff team in this NFL, right? Because for me, if you don't have that guy, then you just might not, then you usually don't have the talent that's going to put you over the top. I know we like to say, oh, this guy sucks, this guy's terrible, this team is it. Everybody in the NFL has a certain level of talent, whether that's high or low, and I think you're seeing that in this league even more this season, right? There's a lot of teams that are 7-7 fighting for a playoff spot right now, right? 6-10, 5, you know, like fighting for playoff positioning right now. So for me, right, like I think there's a lot more parity when you're talking about just getting into the playoffs. Here's the big thing for me, though. Now you also have to look at the fact that I think the Bears rookie class has performed well. Going into next season, you'll see them with another chip under their belt, and the Chicago Bears have high picks going into next season. So for me, right, just getting back to the playoffs, I think those are my expectations for next year. Now, does that mean we go out there and we get a 10-win season? I don't think that's the case. I will say I might be pleasantly surprised by it, right? Because right now I believe the Bears sit at 4th place in the division, and sitting at 4th place in the division, you know what that gets you going into next season? That's right. a fourth place schedule, and fourth place schedules, when you have top tier talent or better talent on your team, usually tend to help you win really, really well, i.e. the Chicago Bears when they were had that first year with Matt Nagy, right? Like that first year with Matt Nagy, we were like, oh my God, the Bears are dominant. They're going out there, they're killing they're beating teams left and right. The offense isn't even doing much. It's just like back in the day. But then, right, when they started getting better schedules, when they got that first place schedule, the wins didn't come as quickly. They weren't as easy to get, right? So I think that makes a big difference there. A fourth place schedule going into next season definitely gives you a little bit of a boost. But just the fact that we've got these rookies, right? Jaquan Brisker, who has literally been to me, I don't think he'll win it, but I think he should be considered for defensive rookie of the year, right? Like he's been that good this season outside of missing a few games dealing with concussion. Kyler Gordon has grown his game as the season has gone on. He's gotten better as the season continues to play out. And look at a guy like Braxton Jones. I don't know if Braxton Jones is your future tackle. He might have to be just in case, left tackle, I should say. He might have to be just in case, right, you have to fill some other holes on this offensive line. Hopefully he continues to improve, but he's been one of the best tackles coming out of this rookie class, selected in the fifth round, right? Like, there's a lot of Jack Sanborn. I'll throw the punter in there. I didn't throw him in there. Trenton Gill, right? Like, there's a lot of pieces that came out of this rookie class that you feel good about heading into next season, now more so on the defensive side. But on top of that, right, now I'm looking at the other side of the football. I'm sorry, looking at the other side of the draft and saying this draft coming up, hey, listen, the Bears are at least slated right now to finish somewhere around second or third probably, but there's still an opportunity to literally finish with the first pick in the draft if Houston manages by some realm of the imagination to beat teams in these last two games, which wouldn't that be so Lovie Smith, bro? Wouldn't that be so Lovie Smith to win these last two games? But so the Bears are still in the mix technically for the first pick in the draft. I don't know if they'll end up getting it. Houston's pretty bad as well, but still in the mix for sure. So for me, right, like now you've got a top 5 pick going into next season, a top 3 pick more than likely going into the next draft, right? What are you going to be able to do with that? Hopefully you're able to find pieces that are going to be able to be impact players on your team right now, no matter what. I think the Bears end up with a high pick in this draft, even if they end up trading back and getting more picks out of it, even heading forward, right? But I like the fact, I like the position that the Bears are in with the draft capital. I like the position they're in with the young players that they have on this team. And you go into next season with a ton of money. So listen, I'm not big on re-signing Monty. You might have to if this offensive line is going to the next season anything close to what it looks like this season, which it better not be. But Monty's also another option you could throw back there to block for Justin Fields. He's really good at that, so you might have to bring him back for that reason alone. On top of that, though, you've got the money to go out there and get some more weapons here in Chicago. And the biggest thing that I said this offseason, the biggest change that the Chicago Bears could make, going out and finding that guy in free agency that's like, hey, I like what they're doing over there. I like what they're building over there. That's the team I want to be with. And that's the guy that you're looking at and you're saying, hey, yeah, you're 100% right. And I love, here's the thing, right? The thing to keep in mind with this, and by the way, I want to know how you guys feel as well. Let me know in the comments below. How soon do you think this Bears team is currently constructed is away from making the playoffs? Let me know down below. I think the big thing to keep in mind with this Bears team as well going into next season, because there's a lot of people that are saying, well, this guy isn't available, right? I dropped that video talking about wide receivers that the Bears had available. Make sure to, or the Bears should be targeting. Make sure to check that out, right? It'll be linked in the description and on the end screen video. So if you make it to the end of the video, when you make it to the end of the video, you'll be able to click that link. The big thing for me is that, you know, people were talking about, oh, this guy's not available, that guy's not available, you can't go after that guy. And I look on the screen and I say, well, Devontae Adams wasn't available last year, and all of a sudden he's in Vegas. A.J. Brown wasn't available, and all of a sudden, right, so, like, you never know what's going to happen the night of the draft, and these guys get moved around all the time. They get new contracts. This is a different NFL. A lot of teams look at situations like that, and they're like, hey, I want to go younger in this position, one, because I need to pay some other guys, and I don't need to pay that guy just yet. And so so I think the Bears have to keep their eyes and ears open for all of that, keep their money and wallets ready for all of that. And the thing is, they're in the perfect position to do that this season, going into next season with the most amount of cap space. So adding in players like that as well as hopefully, right, signing some offensive linemen, that'd be the biggest thing. Sign some good guys, maybe get 1 or 2 more young guys in there, but like, I don't want a full line of rookies standing in front of Justin Fields. But, right, just finding those guys, that instantly adds to your team as well, right? Like, the Bears weren't in a position to go get Khalil Mack, right? And then all of a sudden you add Mack to your team and you're like, oh, my God, we got Khalil Mack. Oh, we're going to take a step this season, immediate step, right? There are guys that absolutely can do that around this league, and you just have to go out and find that guy. Again, let me know how you guys are feeling in the comments below. How far away do you think the Bears are from making the playoffs here? I'm going to be honest with you, right? I think we are legitimately a season away. I think we're a season away. I think going into this offseason, heading into next season, again, that doesn't mean 10 wins, but I think that the Bears could be fighting for one of these playoff spots, a wild card spot, something, right? Like, I don't think we just take over the division, but I think there's enough parity and issues in the NFC North that the Bears could fight their way in. Again, you got to think, going into next season, right, are we going to see a rookie quarterback jumping behind center for the Detroit Lions, or are they going to ride it out with Jared Goff? That's the biggest question I think that's going on around Detroit. By the way, Don Burr, got that jersey coming, my boy. Don't worry about that. I haven't forgotten about you. Right, Minnesota. Like I've said this, Minnesota, great comeback last week. Love to see it. Think they're playing some good football at times, right? But I don't expect Minnesota to go far in the playoffs. I think Minnesota is going to get cooked out here in the playoffs. I'm not going to lie. We'll see what happens, but I do not feel confident about Minnesota moving forward. And then the Packers, right? We're starting to see the Packers kind of have some struggles of their own. Receiver struggles. I think Christian Watson's come on as of late, and technically the Packers are still in the playoff hunt. They need to win out, but they're still in it, right? But I think there's opportunities there where you see the chinks in the armor of these other teams. I think Detroit's probably in the best position out of all the teams maybe to keep moving forward, but they got to get that quarterback position right. That's the one advantage that the Vikings do have right now. While I don't think Kirk Cousins is a world beater, I think that he can do enough things well for you to win the game if you put enough things around him, right? So for me, I'm looking at, right, but I see chinks in the armor of a lot of these teams, and so that's positioning for the Bears to move up. Going into next season with a 4th place schedule, that's positioning for the Bears to move up, right? Like those little things that you look at and you're like, wow, this is where we're at right now. This is how we take that next step. I can see where the steps are there. And again, it all starts with Justin Fields. It all starts with having a franchise quarterback, having a big name piece, having that guy that the Bears believe in. And I'm going to be honest with you, probably the most exciting guy in Chicago right now. That's the thing that gives you that feeling that you're going to be able to take that next step. Even because, right, what we've seen this season is even if everything else doesn't work out, Justin can play really well. Even if we don't have wide receivers, right? We legitimately went into that Eagles game with no wide receivers. And right now, we look at that game and we say, man, Justin played really well. He threw for 2 touchdowns. He got sacked like, 5 times? Still got back up, still made plays, scoring touchdowns in the end zone, moving the ball down the field quickly, using his legs, using it. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a game-changing piece. It's very much, right, like, I look at that situation, I say very similar to what Saquon Barkley has done out in New York. And very similar to me, to what Saquon Barkley has done out in New York, right? Because I look at that team, and I'm like, it shouldn't work. There's nothing on that team that I think is a threat. The defense is okay. The offense is okay, right? But Saquon Barkley is a game-changing piece. That's literally what I feel about the Giants. And so, right, as you see, as we head into next season, right, I think that, yeah, you got to add these pieces in. There's pieces that are going to be learning. There's pieces that are going to take steps that are young and really moving in the right direction. But you've got your game-changing piece. And so for me, that gives me a little bit more confidence that if you add in a big-name wide receiver, right, the Bears are going to be able to go out and find – or Justin's going to be able to go out and find that guy to be able to catch the ball. I think that Chase Claypool, listen, we can call it injury all we want. I think there is some injury to play into this, but bro, like, I think legit the Bears are in tank mode, and they're like, we're not giving up this top positioning. Nobody's playing. Everybody's dead. You know what I mean? Like, that's really what I feel like is happening out here. But going into next season, right, I think Claypool is going to take a nice step, actually having the offense under his belt. I will say a little concerning that it's taken him this long to learn the offense, but he's been kind of in and out of it as well. I think you'll have more than just Chase Claypool out there. Again, Darnell Mooney coming back from injury, right? Hopefully you're able to go out there and find that big body number one guy that you think you're looking for. There's so much in this draft this year, or so much in this offseason that the Bears have to do to close it, to make next season a successful season. But having that one piece, that fixed point that's making guys better, I think that's the thing that we can key in on with the Chicago Bears. And that's the part, right, that gets me the most excited heading into next offseason. Hey, I want to know how you guys feel, man. Let me know in the comments below. I'll be down there talking with you as well. How far away from a playoff berth and consistent playoff contention do you think the Chicago Bears are? I said about 1 year away. So heading into next season, I think we should see this Bears team competing to be in the playoffs. I'm not saying that they're going to be a 10-win team. I've said that a couple of times. But competing to be in the playoffs, and maybe they, listen, with a fourth-place schedule, maybe they will be. It depends on who we play next year. I don't know what all divisions we get next year. But I'll be down in the comments talking with you guys, like I said. And to continue watching our Chicago Bears content, click the links on the screen. We got the wide receiver video I was telling you guys about here. We also got the Ryan Poles draft class evaluation and stuff. Or not draft class evaluation. How his rookie class has done and why the Bears have a nice future coming up. We got all that and more on the channel, so tune in with us on that. You can also check out the links in the description below or just go to the page. As always, man, it's your boy Pat the Designer back at it again. Y'all stay safe out there, Chicago. Peace.